Hello, I am the cartoonist Imraji. I just recorded a video where I used I was going to address from a certain position an old interracial relationship cartoon that was often shared online especially by the 4chan poll guys. I was going to just explain where it was, and I ended up going somewhere else. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to leave that image of that cartoon on that video, but this cartoon I made for where I end up going with that explanation. So the explanation on that video actually goes to this cartoon, whereas I made that cartoon as I noticed, the lust that white men had for black women while they're talking trash about black people and making fun of black women, but they're still lusting after her. I was noticing this like all the time, and even this was before I discovered that the cartoon that the people in 4chan were doing that. Before I discovered that and how they sounded, so when that made that cartoon, now that I see them sharing it and how they act when they share it, I get it that this is part of them, the entitlement that white men have over literally everything. They strut about as fake lords in the air, so whatever they see, it's theirs. That's how they act. It doesn't matter if I don't want this person. They don't want this person because they believe in the strength of their political identity, and they recognize that keeping the white family together is a big part of that, is part of their protection of what they hold. But the spoils of war and that attitude of creating like a middleman mulatto class, is also part of their shtick from the imperialist era that it carries over even in today as we continue aspects of the war machine around the world. And when the defense contractor communities show up in these areas, they don't bring their women with them in the initial stages. It's exactly the way it was in the imperialist era. It's exactly the way soldiers move in the war machine throughout the ages. They show up, they rape, pillage, do stuff, traffic in persons. They do all of that and create a middleman group in the area. It's different when it's a white war machine apparatus inside of another white group. But once they started expanding out and going into Africa and Asia and stuff like that, now you're creating these middleman ethnic communities when the war machine settles, and that middleman group, the dynamic of how it functions, I've already explained and talked about before, and I don't want to run that down again. But this particular cartoon is from that space. It's from watching white men in their place as the aristocracy, as the white racist aristocracy, be entitled over other people's bodies because of the place that they put themselves in their global terror. I want all that is good. I want to dictate what other people can and cannot do, and I still want what I want, even while I'm talking trash on it. So I see that. So, but inside of that, there's also, that's the low-level bottom feeder, enjoying the spoils of their aristocracy, who in the same breath will say there is no aristocracy, but you, at the lowest bottom feeder level of the white racist aristocracy, the poorest among them, they still get to be in the aristocracy. They still get to be white. So that's the benefit of being in the aristocracy, is that no matter what, they're not the bottom caste. They're not the slave class that they've delegated me to, you know. So when you see them at those lowest levels and at their poorest, and, you know, and looking crazy, you know, that's a reflection on who they are as a people, as explained by their own people, you know, from the scholarship that Dr. Sewell was pulling from in his classic essay about that. You know, there are people who know them and see them, and not everybody is ambitiously fighting for the same stuff. You know, the 1% inside of that aristocracy, the 1% don't have a lot of competition there because they know what they're working with. They've handpicked the people in the lower ranks of the aristocracy to be where they are. And even though some of them will talk a lot of mad trash about those guys, they do know their place. They say a lot of trash, especially on 4chan, about the 1% class and what they should do and gonna do this thing, what you know, we need to do that, but they ain't doing shit. Because the true competition that the 1% have, they slaughtered them to a man during the rise of the communist states in the 20th century. The great blood that flowed from the 100 million people that died, that was their actual competition that they got rid of. So the whites who are remaining, who get to stay, who get to be the support class for the 1%, you can talk all the trash you want, but you're the remaining members after that for a reason, because they know you ain't gonna do shit. There's some among you that will pop off like Timothy McVeigh and stuff, but they have that, they lessons learned, and they have that controlled. So the lowest ones who like basically just get to enjoy the spoils of the aristocracy, and they're just spoiled and talking trash and doing shit, and you know, that's what I'm representing in that the other cartoon that I'm piggybacking off of here. This cartoon goes with where I end up going with on that video, you know. So I'm not redoing all of these because I had a flow going, and I don't want to wreck it by trying to redo it again. And I know I'll stiffen up, you know, trying to like remember what I was saying and trying to duplicate that. So I'm not. I want to keep the spontaneity of my flow going. So you just have to help me out. This cartoon goes with that previous video. That goes with this, what I talked about here. All right. Thanks. Peace.